I had a heart attack on my living room floor. My wife called 911, then walked out the door. Our son arrived just in time to see she was gone. Folks, Uncle Mickle here. And before I get into this, do me a favor and drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from and what time it is right now. And if stories like mine hit you where it hurts, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. It helps Uncle Mickle keep bringing you the truth nobody else wants to talk about. All right, let me slow this down, because nothing about that day felt slow when it was happening. It was a Tuesday. Ordinary. Forgettable. One of those days you don't bother to remember until life decides to carve it into you. Late afternoon light coming through the blinds. Dust floating in it, like it always did. I just finished mowing the lawn and came inside sweaty, tired, and thinking about nothing more than a glass of water and sitting down for a minute. That minute never came. There was a pressure in my chest first. Not pain, not yet. Pressure. Like someone had set a heavy toolbox right on my sternum and forgot about it. I remember thinking, that's strange. Then my left arm went numb. Then my jaw tightened. Then the floor tilted sideways and met me hard. I didn't scream. I couldn't. Air felt thick, like breathing through wet cloth. I crawled. Grown man, 50 years old, crawling toward the couch like a child. I knocked over a chair. The sound was loud in my ears. Too loud. My wife, Karen, came running in from the kitchen. She looked down at me. Her face drained of color. She said my name once. Just once. Then she called 911. I remember her voice sounding steady on the phone. Too steady. Clear. Like she was reporting a car accident she'd witnessed, not her husband dying at her feet. I remember the operator asking questions, and Karen answering them. Age. Symptoms. Address. Then something happened that I didn't understand at the time. She stood up. She walked toward the bedroom. I tried to reach for her. My fingers barely moved. I remember thinking, don't leave the room. Now don't leave me. Just the room. Like if she stayed, I'd stay. She came back with her purse and keys. I can't handle this, she said. That was it. 5 words. Calm. Final. I can't handle this. She stepped over my legs and walked out the front door while I lay there waiting for sirens that sounded like they were coming from another planet. That wasn't the worst part. Not yet. The worst part came when our son arrived. Michael is 32. Big guy. Solid. The kind of man who shows up when you call. No questions asked. Karen had called him after 911. Told him something was wrong. Didn't tell him she was leaving. I heard the front door open again. Footsteps. His voice calling out, Dad. I tried to answer. I don't know if anything came out. He found me on the floor. He knelt down, hands shaking, eyes wide. He looked around the house like he expected his mother to be there. Where's Mom? He asked. I couldn't answer. He stood up and checked the driveway through the window. Her car was gone. That was the moment my son realized his mother had chosen herself over his father's life. I didn't understand it then. I didn't have the strength to understand anything. Paramedics rushed in, lifted me, strapped me down. Voices layered over each other. Oxygen mask. Cold metal. Someone saying, "Stay with us, sir." As they rolled me out, I saw Michael standing in the doorway alone. Hands clenched. Jaw tight. Not crying. Just staring at the empty driveway. That image stayed with me longer than the pain. Because while my heart was failing, something else had already broken. And I wouldn't fully see it until months later, when Karen came back asking for forgiveness, and my son made a decision that changed all our lives. But back then, lying in that ambulance, siren screaming, all I could think was one question I didn't dare ask out loud. If she could leave me then, how long had she already been gone? And that question, folks, is where this story really begins. Recovery has a way of slowing time down until you're forced to notice things you used to rush past. I woke up 3 days later in a cardiac unit with tubes in my arms and a machine doing the counting for my heart. The doctor told me I was lucky. He used that word twice. Lucky I was home. Lucky my wife had called 911 quickly. Lucky the damage wasn't worse. I nodded like a good patient does. Michael was there every day, morning and evening. He brought my phone charger, my glasses, clean clothes. He cracked jokes that didn't land and pretended not to notice when I stared too long at the empty chair beside my bed. Karen didn't come. Not once. She sent one text the second day. Just one sentence. I need space to process everything. That line still makes people mad when I repeat it. I need space to process everything. At the time, I accepted it. Or maybe I needed to. When you've almost died, you cling to whatever explanation hurts the least. I told myself she was overwhelmed, that she scared easily, that some people just aren't built for hospitals and machines, and the smell of antiseptic. We'd been married 27 years. That kind of history doesn't evaporate in an afternoon. Or so I thought. Before the heart attack, our life was quiet. Not bad. Not exciting. Steady. We lived in the same house we bought when Michael was in middle school. I worked operations management for a regional supply company. Long hours, decent pay, predictable stress. Karen handled real estate part-time. Showed houses, did paperwork, complained about clients who didn't know what they wanted. Evenings were routine. Dinner around 6. News on low volume. Phones face down on the table. Weekends meant groceries, yard work, maybe dinner with friends once a month. From the outside, we looked solid. Inside, I thought we were just settled. I remember telling a co-worker once, "We're past the drama stage." I meant it as a compliment. Karen had changed over the last couple of years, but I chalked it up to age and restlessness. She dressed a little sharper, stayed out later networking, guarded her phone more than she used to. When I'd ask, she'd smile and say, "Don't start imagining things." That line came up more than once. Don't start imagining things. I didn't. Or maybe I chose not to. Michael noticed more than I did. He'd ask why his mom wasn't home yet, why she missed another Sunday dinner, why she seemed distracted when she was there. I defended her every time. She's just busy. She's finding her groove. Marriage isn't fireworks forever. Those were my favorite explanations. They required no action. When I finally came home from the hospital, Michael insisted on staying with me. He slept on the couch, cooked, sorted my meds into a little plastic box like I was 80 instead of 50. Karen didn't come back right away. She stopped by once, mid-afternoon, when Michael wasn't there. She stood in the doorway like a guest. Didn't sit. Didn't touch me. "You look better," she said. I told her I felt better. I asked her when she was coming home. She hesitated. "Just a beat too long." "I'm staying with a friend for now," she said. I didn't ask which friend. I should have. That night, Michael asked me a question I wasn't ready for. "Dad," he said, keeping his eyes on the TV, "did Mom say why she left?" I told him what she told me. Space. Processing. Overwhelm. He didn't argue. He just nodded. But he said one thing that stuck. "That doesn't sound like her." I brushed it off. Laughed weakly. Changed the subject. What I didn't tell him was that Karen hadn't asked once about my follow-up appointment, or my medication, or whether I was sleeping. What I didn't admit to myself was how quiet the house felt without her. Not peaceful. Hollow. A few nights later, I woke up to chest tightness. Not pain. Fear. The kind that comes from realizing your body betrayed you once, and might do it again. I reached for my phone. Scrolled. No missed calls. No messages from my wife. Just one from Michael, sent earlier. "Call me if you need anything. Anytime." That's when a thought slipped in. Soft but sharp. What if this wasn't a reaction but a decision? I didn't understand it then. I wasn't ready to. But something had shifted, just slightly. Like a picture hanging crooked on the wall. And once you see that tilt, you can't unsee it. The first real doubt didn't arrive like a punch. It came like a paper cut. Small. Sharp. Easy to ignore if you pretended it wasn't there. 2 weeks after I got home, I tried to pay a utility bill online and realized I didn't have the password anymore. Karen had changed it. Not unusual by itself. She handled most of the accounts. I figured she was reorganizing things while processing. So I called her. It rang 4 times before going to voicemail. I didn't leave a message. An hour later, she texted, "Sorry, was in a meeting." That word again. Meeting. Always meetings. I asked for the password. She sent it. No emojis. No, hope you're feeling okay. Just the login information. That's when I noticed something else. The checking account balance was lower than it should have been. Not empty. Just thinned. Like someone had been scooping from it carefully, hoping I wouldn't notice. I told myself not to spiral. I didn't understand it then. That wasn't the worst part. Those phrases came later. At the time, I stayed practical. I checked the statements. Small withdrawals. Hotels. Restaurants I didn't recognize. Gas stations nowhere near our neighborhood. I felt my pulse pick up, and for a second I wondered if I was about to end up back in that ambulance. I closed the laptop. Michael came by that evening with groceries. I didn't say anything right away. Watched him unload bags. Watched how he moved with purpose, like a man who'd already stepped into a role he never expected. Halfway through dinner, he said, "Dad, can I ask you something without you getting mad?" That's never a good sentence. Go ahead. He hesitated. Then, has Mom always stayed at the same friend's place? I looked up. What do you mean? She wasn't there yesterday, he said. I stopped by to drop off some mail. My fork paused halfway to my mouth. She said she was staying there, I replied. Michael nodded slowly. That's what she told me too. Silence stretched. Then he added, but her car wasn't there, and the lights were off. Place looked empty. I didn't accuse, didn't defend. I just listened. She called me later, he continued. Said she stepped out, that I must have missed her. Did you believe her? I asked. He didn't answer right away. That was answer enough. That night, sleep didn't come easy. My body was healing, but my mind had started running laps. I replayed moments from the past year. Karen stepping out to take calls. Karen coming home energized instead of tired. Karen showering immediately after late showings. There was a line she used a lot. You worry too much. I'd worn that like a badge of self-awareness. Turns out, it was a blindfold. 3 days later, another cut. A certified letter arrived addressed to Karen. From a law office. I didn't open it. Just stared at the return address longer than necessary. When Karen finally came by to pick up some clothes, I handed it to her. Her face changed. Just slightly. But I saw it. What's that? She asked, already knowing. Came for you, I said. She took it quickly. Too quickly. It's nothing, she said. Just paperwork. There it was. One of those lines people repeat in comments because they know it's never true. Just paperwork. She stuffed the envelope into her bag and changed the subject. Asked how I was feeling. If I was walking more. If I was eating right. I answered politely. But something in me had shifted from fragile to alert. Before she left, I asked one more question. Karen, are you coming home? She looked at the door. Not at me. I don't know, she said. I need time. After she left, Michael exhaled hard. That wasn't an answer, he said. No, I agreed. It wasn't. That night, I did something I'd never done in our marriage. I checked the phone records. I wasn't proud of it, but pride doesn't protect you from the truth. There was one number. Repeated. Daily. Sometimes late. Sometimes early. Always short calls. Never voicemail. I didn't recognize it. I stared at that number for a long time, feeling something cold settle in my chest. Not pain. Recognition. Because deep down, I already knew what I was circling. And the question that kept me awake wasn't if something was wrong anymore. It was how long had it been wrong, and who else already knew. That answer was coming. And when it did, it was going to hurt more than the heart attack ever did. I waited 3 days before dialing that number. Not because I was scared of what I'd hear. Because I was scared of what I'd feel once I did. Those days stretched. Cardiac rehab in the mornings. Slow walks around the block. Too much time alone with my thoughts. Every step felt like I was pacing the edge of something I couldn't see yet. On the 4th night, Michael stayed late. We watched a game neither of us cared about. During a commercial break, he said, Dad, whatever's going on, you don't have to protect me from it. That's when I realized he already knew, or at least suspected enough that the truth wouldn't surprise him. After he left, I sat at the kitchen table and stared at my phone. I dialed. It rang twice. A man answered. Hello. His voice was relaxed. familiar in a way that made my stomach drop. "Hi," I said. "I think you've been calling my wife." Silence. Not confusion. Calculation. Then he said, "I was wondering when this would happen." That sentence changed everything. I didn't understand it then. What I found next changed everything. He didn't deny it. Didn't apologize. Just sighed like this was an overdue chore. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," he said. That's another one people repeat. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I asked his name. David. Realtor. Worked with Karen occasionally. Had for years. How long? I asked. Another pause. About 18 months. 18 months. That was the number that dropped me lower than any pain ever had. Lower than the living room floor. Lower than the ambulance ride. 18 months of lies folded into ordinary days. Dinners. Holidays. Family photos. Did she leave because of me? I asked. No, he said quickly. Too quickly. She left because she couldn't watch you die. That lie was almost impressive. I hung up without saying goodbye. I sat there a long time after that. Didn't cry. Didn't shout. Just stared at the grain in the table like it might rearrange itself into something that made sense. When Karen came by 2 days later, I didn't ease into it. I know about David, I said. She froze. Not shocked. Not confused. Just tired. She sat down slowly. Put her purse on the floor like this was finally a conversation she didn't have to run from. I was going to tell you, she said. That's another one. I was going to tell you. When? I asked. She didn't answer. I told her about the phone call. About the accounts. About the letter. She nodded through all of it. Not defensive. Not angry. Relieved. I didn't plan to leave you like that, she said quietly. I panicked. You stepped over me, I said. I was dying. Her eyes filled. But she didn't argue. I couldn't be the person you needed, she said. There it was. The sentence that finally told the truth without meaning to. I couldn't be the person you needed. I asked her why she stayed all those months if she was already gone. For Michael, she said. That one hurt the most. Because she used our son as proof of loyalty while betraying both of us. I told her I needed time. She nodded like that was reasonable. Like she hadn't already taken 18 months. After she left, I called Michael. I didn't sugarcoat it. Didn't protect her. Didn't protect myself. He was quiet the entire time. When I finished, he said one sentence. So she chose herself twice. Yes, that was exactly it. The lowest point wasn't the affair. Or the abandonment. It was realizing the woman I trusted with my life had already decided my life was optional. I lay awake that night staring at the ceiling. Heart steady but heavy. Because betrayal doesn't just break trust. It rewrites your past. And as I lay there, one thought settled in. Calm and unavoidable. This wasn't something that happened to me. This was something I had survived. But survival was only the beginning. And the next choice wouldn't be hers to make. The strange thing about hitting bottom is how quiet it is once you land. No thunder. No collapse. Just stillness. After Karen admitted everything, I didn't explode. I didn't throw her out. I didn't beg her to stay or scream at her to leave. I thanked her for finally telling the truth and told her I needed space. Real space. Not the kind she'd been using as a disguise. She left without a fight. That was the moment control started coming back to me. Not because I was winning, but because I was done reacting. For the first time since the heart attack, I slept through the night. The next morning, I sat at the kitchen table with a notebook and wrote down facts. Not feelings. Facts. We were married. She had been unfaithful for 18 months. She abandoned me during a medical emergency. Our son witnessed the aftermath. She now wanted time and clarity. Seeing it laid out stripped the fog away. This is who she is now, I told myself. Not who she had been. Who she was choosing to be. Michael came over that afternoon. I didn't call him. He just showed up, like he had all my life. He looked at me for a long moment before speaking. You okay? He asked. I will be, I said. And for the first time, I meant it. We didn't talk about Karen right away. We talked about work. About his plans. About how strange it felt when parents suddenly become fragile. Then he said, "She texted me." I nodded. "Me too." He shook his head. "Not the same way." I waited. "She wants to meet. She wants forgiveness. From both of us." That was the moment I realized something important. This wasn't just about my marriage anymore. This was about what kind of example we were setting next. I told Michael he didn't owe her anything. Not a meeting. Not a conversation. Not closure. She made her choices, I said. You get to make yours. He looked relieved, like he'd been carrying a weight he didn't ask for. Over the next few weeks, I focused on practical things. I met with a lawyer. Quietly. Calmly. Just to understand my options. No drama. No revenge. Just clarity. Family doesn't sue family. Karen had once said during an argument years ago. Turns out, family also doesn't leave you on the floor. I updated beneficiaries. Changed passwords. Separated accounts. Not out of spite. Out of self-respect. Every action felt like reclaiming a small piece of myself. Karen called. I didn't always answer. When I did, I kept it brief. Polite. Controlled. She cried once. Told me she was in therapy. That she'd made a terrible mistake. I listened. Then I said something that surprised even me. I believe you're sorry, I said. That doesn't mean I can undo what you did. Silence followed. That's a line people repeat too. That doesn't mean I can undo what you did. The real shift came when Michael told me something unexpected. She asked me to convince you, he said. I felt a flicker of anger. Then it passed. What did you tell her? I asked. I told her I wasn't the bridge, he said. I'm the consequence. That was the moment I knew my son had grown past this, without being hardened by it. Karen wanted reconciliation. A reset. A version of forgiveness that erased accountability. But I wasn't interested in erasing anything. I wasn't planning revenge. I wasn't plotting humiliation. I was planning a clean ending. And endings, when done right, are powerful. Because when you stop begging someone to choose you, you force them to see what they've lost. Karen just didn't know it yet. But she was about to. And the moment she realized it would be public, calm, and irreversible, just the way I needed it to be. Karen chose the setting. That alone told me everything. She didn't ask to come home. She didn't ask to meet privately. She suggested dinner at a quiet restaurant halfway between our places. Neutral ground. Public. Safe. I just want us to talk, she said. No pressure. Just clarity. Those were her words. I agreed. Not because I was hopeful. Because I was ready. I arrived early. Sat with my back straight. Hands folded. Heart steady. Not racing. Not afraid. Calm in a way I hadn't felt in months. When she walked in, she looked smaller. Careful. Like someone entering a room where they already knew the verdict, but hoped the judge might change his mind. She smiled. I didn't. We ordered. Small talk tried to happen. Failed. She went first. I've done a lot of thinking, she said. Therapy helped me see how selfish I was. I nodded once. I panicked that day, she continued. Seeing you like that broke something in me. I didn't interrupt. I never meant to hurt Michael, she added quickly. That's what hurts me the most. There it was. The shift. From accountability to image management. I want to come home, she said. I want us to heal. Slowly. Together. I took a breath. Then I said, Michael isn't coming. She blinked. What? He won't be here, I said. He's not interested in a family meeting. Her face tightened. He needs to hear me out. No, I said evenly. He needed his mother to stay. Silence stretched between us. Plates arrived. Neither of us touched them. I'm willing to forgive you, she said carefully. But we have to move forward. That sentence did it. I'm willing to forgive you. I set my fork down. Karen, I said, calm as still water. You don't get to forgive your way out of this. Her eyes widened slightly. I didn't come here to argue, she said. I didn't come here to reconcile, I replied. That's when her mask slipped. Then why are we here? She asked, sharp now. I reached into my jacket and placed a folder on the table. Not shoved, not slammed, just placed. Inside were copies, bank statements, dates, the phone records, the withdrawal timeline, the lawyer's letter she tried to hide. Her color drained. "I'm filing," I said. "Tomorrow." Her mouth opened, closed. "You can't just," she started. "I can," I said. "And I am." She leaned back, breathing fast. "You're doing this to punish me," she said. "No," I replied. "I'm doing this to end it." She shook her head. "After everything? After 27 years?" "You ended it," I said quietly. On the floor. That was the blow. Not loud. Not cruel. Accurate. She covered her mouth. Tears finally came. Real ones this time. "I was scared," she whispered. "So was I said. "I just didn't leave." She reached across the table. I didn't take her hand. "I need you to understand something," I continued. "This isn't revenge. This is alignment. My life finally matching the truth." People nearby were eating, talking, living. The world hadn't stopped for our moment. That felt right. She nodded slowly. Defeated. "What about Michael?" she asked. "That's up to him," I said. "Not me. Not you." The check came. I paid it. Stood up. As I walked away, she said one last thing. "You won't need this anymore," she said, holding up her wedding ring. I paused. Turned. "You stopped needing it long before I did," I replied. And then I left. No shouting. No scene. No regret. Because the most devastating thing you can do to someone who betrayed you is stop needing their approval to move on. And that night, for the first time since my heart failed me, I felt strong. The days after the divorce filing were quieter than I expected. No explosions. No late-night arguments. No desperate knocking on the door. Just a steady, almost unsettling calm, like the air after a storm has already passed through and taken everything loose with it. Karen moved her things out in stages. I wasn't there for most of it. Michael was. Not as a guard, as a witness. He wanted to see it with his own eyes, I think, to make sure the ending was real. They didn't argue. They didn't cry together. They spoke in short, careful sentences, like co-workers finishing a project neither wanted to claim. Afterward, Michael came back to my place and sat at the kitchen table. Same spot I'd written my list of facts weeks earlier. She asked if I hated her, he said. And I asked. I told her I didn't, he replied. But that I didn't trust her either. That was the line. I don't hate you. I don't trust you. Some relationships don't end with anger. They end with clarity. Physically, I kept healing. Cardiac rehab became routine. My body learned to trust itself again, slowly. My heart still carried a scar, but it beat steady and strong, like it had something to prove. Emotionally, things came in waves. Some mornings I woke up missing the idea of Karen more than the woman herself. The version I thought I had. The future I assumed was guaranteed. Other mornings, I woke up grateful. Grateful that the collapse happened when it did. Grateful that my son saw the truth without it breaking him. Michael started coming by less often, not because he cared less, but because he didn't need to hover anymore. That felt like success. One evening, months later, he brought over takeout and said something that surprised me. She asked if we could start over. He said. I didn't react. I told her no, he continued. I said, you don't get a reset with me. That was his closure. Earned. Honest. Karen sent me one final message after the paperwork was done. I hope one day you'll remember the good years. I stared at that sentence for a long time before replying. I do, I wrote back. They're just not enough anymore. That wasn't bitterness. That was truth. Life didn't magically improve after that. It just got real. I cooked more, walked more, learned how to sit in silence without feeling abandoned by it. Friends showed up in unexpected ways. Old routines fell away. New ones took their place. And sometimes, late at night, I'd think back to that living room floor. The weight in my chest. The sound of the door closing. That moment could have been the end. Instead, it became the line between who I was and who I needed to be. Michael and I grew closer in a way we never had before. Not bonded by trauma, but by honesty. We talk like two men now. Not father and son pretending everything was fine. One night, He said something I'll carry the rest of my life. I learned what love isn't, he said. From her. And what it is? I asked. He smiled slightly. Staying. That's it. Staying. Not perfectly. Not bravely. Just staying. I didn't lose everything. I lost what wasn't real anymore. And what remained was enough. But the real lesson didn't fully settle until I looked outward again. Until I realized there were others listening. Waiting to hear that survival doesn't always look heroic. Sometimes it just looks like standing up quietly and walking forward without asking permission. When you reach this part of life, you start to understand something most people learn too late. Pain doesn't change you. Truth does. I've had a lot of folks ask me how I did it. How I stayed calm. How I didn't fall apart. How I looked betrayal in the face and didn't let it turn me bitter or small. The honest answer is this. I stopped arguing with reality. I didn't waste energy rewriting the past. I didn't beg someone to become who they used to be. I accepted who they chose to be and adjusted my life accordingly. That's not cruelty. That's self-respect. If you're listening to this and you're in the middle of something similar, I want you to hear one thing clearly. Someone else's inability to stay does not mean you were unworthy of being stayed for. It just means you were standing in the wrong place, waiting for the wrong person. I didn't become stronger by surviving a heart attack. I became stronger by surviving the moment after. The moment I realized love isn't proven in words or apologies or promises made too late. It's proven when things get hard and someone stays. So that's my story, folks. If it resonated with you, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're listening from. I want to know how far Uncle Mickle's voice travels. And here's the moral I earned the hard way. Never confuse familiarity with loyalty. Real love shows up when it's inconvenient.